Hi everyone, welcome to Wigan Fan TV. Tonight is episode 14. As I have been reminded by Captain Jibbers on Twitter, he told me that it was episode 14 tonight, which I always forget. So thank you, Mr. Captain Jibbers. It's a great Twitter name to have, but he listens down in London on the podcast. So tonight you stuck with myself, Shaun, and Matt, a regular, and yes, he has got a poem behind him again. Are you well, Matt?
I'm well, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, very good. Snowed in up in the northeast at the moment, but apparently you're not too bad.
No, all right here.
So obviously that's potentially one of the things that we can talk about tonight is the weather and how that might affect the game. Not in terms of it being on, but perhaps the performance and the style of rugby that we'll actually see on Friday. But let's start off, Matt, with going back to last Friday. Warrington 16, Wigan 10. I did a little bit of a video after that game, just a little reaction video, but you were at the game. Initial thoughts on that now that, well, I guess a week after, a few days after, how do you view that game?
I was quite devastated at the end of the game, to be honest. But having given it some thought, it wasn't that bad. I mean, I know there's this thing about, there was no fatigue whatsoever. There was, no jet lag, nothing like that. But I'd agree with that to some degree. I don't think the team were overly tired physically because the last 20 minutes, actually, they were doing all right. That was a good 20-minute spell. But the mental awareness wasn't quite there. I'd say they were mentally tired, and that's what showed.
Yeah, definitely. Martin's just put on here. Don't mention the jet lag. Yeah, I think he's absolutely right. I mean, that was the thing that we spoke about last week, wasn't it? I said that I spoke to Chris Radlinski, and he said jet lag is for the mentally weak, and that seemed to be the idea behind everything. Was we're not going to blame it on the jet lag, but then
as he was mainlining on black coffee.
Yeah, as he was drinking his espresso or his Americano, his black Americano there. But, I mean, I think when you look at the end of the weekend and you look at the results, Leeds travelled back from Melbourne. They lost to our opponents on Friday night, Widnes. Obviously, Hull gave a really good account of themselves at Castleford, I thought, on Saturday, but again came up short, and Wigan came up short. So I guess we've got to mention that word jet lag, or that two words of jet lag, and sort of put it down to that, really. Let's just forget about it. I mean, what seemed from I mean, I was watching it on telly, you were at the game. The fluidity of the attack just wasn't there like it was at Salford or Hull. Do you think it was that communication, that leadership?
I think it was.
That we're missing.
I think they weren't quite as sharp as they should have been. And when you come back, it's not just that jet lag thing. When you come back from Australia and you're heading into a very cold Halliwell Jones Stadium, that's going to have all kinds of effects on you.
Yeah, probably mentally more than physically, like you said. For one reason
never mind
or
my
another.
wolf puppet. They brought out some dogs at that stadium, and the dogs didn't want to be there. Real wolves, and they were terrified.
I'm glad that you quoted. Yeah, I wondered where you were going with that. We are definitely talking about the actual dogs, and you're not sort of referring to anything else. Yes, we're definitely staying with the dogs. Thankfully on that one. I mean, we sort of forget about last week. We move on to this week. We've had a week's worth of training. Or we will have, whether it's in the snow or whatever it might be. I guess it doesn't really matter. And we come up against a Widnes side, which, I mean, it's probably on paper it's a game that Wigan win and they win comfortably. But you look at their results so far. I've got them here: Widnes 40, Catalans 12, Castleford 13, Widnes 12. So it only just lost to everyone's favourite team from 2017. Widnes 10, Warrington 18, and that. I think we both said that we watched that on telly. They weren't a million miles away against Warrington. And then last week, Widnes 23, Leeds 6. So, I mean, are Widnes much better in 2018? Or is it just a case of, I don't know, the eye pitch? What is it?
Do you know what? I think you can do better than asking me. I've actually got, this is a real treat for you. I've got Dennis Betts here. Dennis Betts is with me now.
Fantastic.
He's shy, so he won't come on the screen, but he's down here between my legs.
Okay.
And what I'll do is I'll ask him that now, if you like. You're right, Dennis. What's going on, Dennis? How come Widnes seems so good now? As you can tell, that's definitely his voice.
It's definitely his. It's either him or Darren Lockyer, but yeah, it's definitely him, I'd say.
They might have merged. And I think what he was trying to say was that he feels that last season probably they weren't at their best because of they had injuries and that. But also I think what they're finding now is that they've got a new sense of commitment and purpose and a little bit more maturity as a team. Okay. That, I think, is what we're seeing from Widnes at the moment. They've got that almost, they're not panicking as much as they did. They've got their systems, they're sticking to them.
Yeah, I mean, you go back 2 years ago, 2016, they beat Wigan twice in 2016 at the DW. They turned us over early on in the season when they were running away with it a little bit. And then, I think it was Eddie Hemmings was saying that the Leicester City of Super League at the time. I think they'd won 3 games in a row, and he was getting a little bit carried away with that. But and then they obviously beat us just. Yeah, he is. And then they beat us just before the playoff series. We obviously went on to win the grand final in 2016, but that defeat at home to Widnes just in the Super 8s was almost a catalyst, I think, for Wigan to respond and go on to win the grand final, because I think, I can't remember, I think it was 10-8 and we had a penalty in front of the sticks and we decided to run it instead of taking the draw. If we would have got the draw, we would have finished top of the table. And I think Twister sort of broke, the internet broke, the forums broke down, the website broke down. So Widnes have, they're pretty good at, causing upsets. We don't have the best record, I don't think, at Widnes, but obviously Friday night will be at the DW. Do you know anything about, if I'm going to put the Widnes 19 side on here, other than the obvious candidates, do you know anything of this team? Because I'm going to make us smaller, and hopefully this is the side that played against Leeds last weekend. For me, as a novice sort of Widnes player, Widnes spectator, which I'm not, Ed Chamberlain, Chapelhow, Orbison, Danny Walker on the bench, Ted Chapelhow, Sam Wilde. I mean, these are players that I'm showing my ignorance here and really, really struggle to sort of know what they can bring against Wigan. And is it the element of surprise, you think, this year that's working in Widnes' favour?
Could be that. I watched some of the highlights, and that the Chapelhow with the large foot seemed to be causing a lot of damage. And they've got, I think they've got a couple of very good halfbacks at the moment. Halfbacks, yeah. If they spend more time gelling together.
I mean, I would assume, barring injuries, this is pretty much going to be the side that faces Wigan on Friday, as far as I can see. I think it's very similar to the 19. In that, obviously, there's a lot of former Wigan players in there, which I think always adds to the spectacle against Widnes as well. There's almost this, Dennis Betts being the manager, Mick Cassidy is involved there. I think he's the assistant coach, assistant manager at Widnes. You've got people like Stephen Marsh on there. Who else is on there? The screen's gone really small. But Dudson, if he's still there, is he on that list, Gil Dudson? But there's plenty of players, obviously, that is he not on there? But there's obviously Joe Mellor being one of the main ones, I guess, one of the youngsters that Wigan let go, and Shaun Wane actually gave his debut to Joe Mellor. So there's plenty of ex-Wiganers in there, and that probably adds to a little bit of the sort of feistiness and potential closeness that we might see on Friday night. But let's sort of park the Widnes bus, because I genuinely am out of my depth. We invited, we tried to find a Widnes fan, and this isn't me being horrible about Widnes fans, but we genuinely couldn't find a Widnes fan. Not that one to go on here, and I apologise to any Widnes fans that might see this. I'm sure maybe in the second game of the season somebody might want to come on. So you stuck with me and Matt trying to talk about Widnes. So the other, Dudson retired due to injuries, according to Martin. Didn't know that, actually. I hadn't got a clue.
No,
so let's move on.
That.
No, I didn't know that either.
Hanbury, am I right in thinking Hanbury is one of the top meter makers so far this season?
I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case. I mean, Reece Hanbury, he seems to always score against Wigan. He always seems to be linked with a move away from Widnes, maybe to again, I use this term loosely to any Widnes fans, to a bigger club. I know he was linked with St Helens quite a few times over the years. And yeah, I can imagine him. I don't have the statistics in front of me, but I can imagine that being the case. But let's move on to the Wigan squads. Matt,
Sure.
The only difference from the Wigan squad this week is Joe Burgess comes in for Craig Mullen, which I assume probably bumped somebody out. Your thoughts on Bateman at centre last week, and do you see any changes this week? Do you see Joe Burgess coming straight back into the team, and if so, where?
Bateman's solid at centre, wasn't he?
Yeah.
I think he made a couple of slightly naff defensive reads, but generally speaking, he's always reliable. He's at centre. That's fine. I would like to see an out-and-out centre, though, maybe one of the youngsters. And Mullen's, I was really impressed with Mullen against South Sydney. He looked so tenacious.
Yeah.
He was all over the place. I'm thinking just give him a game. At centre, I know that's not his natural position, but give him a game. Yeah. Let's see him grrr into Widnes.
And if there was ever a game, and again, no disrespect to Widnes on this, but if there was ever a game, it would probably be a game at home against a side that finished low down the league last year, and Widnes would seem the perfect opportunity. But that isn't to be, unless there's any late changes in the squad. So one of my criticisms of John Bateman at the last week was I think he was put in there basically to defend, and I think attack was almost let's worry about that when we get the ball, and we almost did look like we were worrying about it. He's playing out on the right edge. Every time he got the ball, he wanted to come in field to left, and poor Tom Davis, I don't think got a single pass off him. If you're Shaun Wane, who do you play at centre? Do you keep Bateman there, or do you throw Isa in? Do you put Joe Burgess in? What do you do?
Not Isa. And I've never been that keen on Burgess as a centre.
No,
I think I'd give it to a youngster. I'd give a youngster a run out personally if it was me. However,
I'm telling you that you don't have that opportunity. Okay, there's no youngsters in the squad. I'm giving you. Don't try and get out of this. You have Bateman.
Damn it!
You have Isa. You have Burgess, who plays centre.
Right, what I'm doing then is I'm chopping those players up and surgically reattaching bits of them to form the perfect centre. So I'm thinking Bateman's torso. Does that exist from
those three?
you can do this. Bateman's torso, Burgess's legs, and we'll interchange the arms as we go through the match, just to see which is the best. So like a Frankenstein's monster of a centre.
And you're not
Willie
giving
Isa,
anything from Willie Isa.
His
socks. Poor Willie Isa. Honestly, if any players ever watch this, we are going to get slaughtered at some point. If we ever bump into any players, I mean, I got criticised for giving Liam Marshall a hard time after the game last week, and I sort of feel a little bit bad, and particularly if he gets dropped at the weekend for Joe Burgess, I'll almost feel responsible for giving him a hard time, which might put an end to Wigan Fan TV before it's really even started.
I don't dislike Willie Isa. I think Willie Isa is a very good player to have in the team, backpedaling rapidly. But no, I do. I think he's a brilliant utility player. Would I start him at centre, though? I'd start Bateman ahead of him at centre, because I think Bateman offers a little bit more of an ability to break a tackle, to make a break that way, that I don't see from Isa. So that's the reason why I might have sounded really hard on Willie Isa, and I'm sorry.
Yeah. And Willie Isa, if you are watching, Matt will be at the game on Friday if you want to find him, just so you know.
I'll be in the north stand.
The same for me with Liam Marshall as well. So I'm really sorry, Liam. One player that we spoke about when we had Mark on the show, and we had a Warrington fan, Rob, on the show. Was it Rob or Mark? There was a Rob and Mark. One of them didn't come on, and we had two Marks. Rob the Wire fan. Yeah, I think that was Rob, the one who was in
mysterious. I still don't know what he looks like.
Yeah, it was just. I mean, I didn't want to ask him to move the camera because I quite like the back shot, and I just like this mystique about a Warrington fan over in Manly. Nobody really knows why he's over there. You know,
The
is he out there
international
because
man of mystery?
Yeah, and I thought everything that he says about that game came true. He said Tyrone Roberts is going to put a bomb up. He put a bomb up. He said Tyrone Roberts, watch out for his dummy. He put a pretty good dummy in. I mean, he messed everything up after that, but everything that he seemed to sort of say came true in that game. But one player that
Tyrone Roberts, do you think?
Maybe it was Tyrone Roberts' brother.
Yeah.
Yeah, why has that not clicked before now? Anyway, one player that the three of us, the three Wigan fans, spoke about at length last week, and he missed out from the 19 to the 17 was Romain Navarette. Now, we all said we were impressed with him against Souths. Shaun Wane has spoken in his press conference this week saying he's very, very close to getting his opportunity, and he's told his other forwards that Navarette deserves an opportunity. Do you put Navarette in on Friday night? Does he get his chance?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'd have put him in last week.
Yeah, I would as well.
I'm that impressed with him. I think he really deserves a shot.
Absolutely. I mean, next question, you know what's coming. Who does he replace? That's the biggest problem at the moment.
My first thought would have been Willie Isa, but I can't say that now, can I?
Poor Willie Isa.
I know, I feel bad. Hang on, let me have a look at the squad.
Bring it on the screen. There we go. I don't know if you can see that on there.
I think probably bring him in for Willie Isa.
Okay. I mean, it's a difficult one. I mean, you know, this is such a difficult decision because we're talking about a player that deserves an opportunity. And in terms of Willie Isa, we're talking about a player that was there for us in, you know, it sounds dramatic, but in our darkest hours last year. He was a player that was available pretty much all of the time. He's our go-to player when people are missing. He missed out on the World Club Challenge game last year simply because he is a utility player, isn't he, Willie Isa? And that is the unfortunate thing, I think, for potentially what might define his career when he looks back at it, was that he never became a starting second row. He never became a starting loose forward. So you would put Navarette in for Isa. Yeah, I guess that gives you the nice option then, which we saw in pre-season, the league game that you were at, with playing maybe Sutton at 13 when O'Loughlin comes off, and you're almost playing with three props at a time. So you can see that fitting in quite nicely with particularly with the way that they've lined up at times in pre-season. I'll just get rid of that squad. So yeah, Navarette, we're both agreeing that he deserved his opportunity this week.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, there's the other player that we haven't even mentioned who isn't in the squad is Gabe Hamlin. And next week we're going to be having a conversation about how well Romain Navarette played, and that Gabe Hamlin keeps ripping it up in the reserve grade, and he deserves his chance. And then all of a sudden, these are decisions for Shaun Wane that he didn't have the luxury of making last year. And I guess that's what being a head coach is all about. You'd rather have these decisions to make, wouldn't you, rather than, I guess, bringing people in that haven't played before. Absolutely.
If we are having this discussion next week, then that's a good thing. That's exactly as it should be.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I mean, I'm going to sort of give a little plug to the Player of the Month vote, which is open. It's pinned in the comments on Facebook. I'm going to close that tonight, but I'm going to have a quick look whilst I'm on here, just to give you people an update on the voting. It's incredibly close. So the options, and who would you vote for first of all, Matt? If I gave you the options of Tom Davis, Sam Tompkins, Tony Clubb, George Williams, and Liam Marshall.
Tony Clubb.
Okay. So there's one vote in it at the moment. Tom Davis in second. Tony Clubb is winning the vote at the moment, but he's winning by 1 point. And we're going to close that later on. So if anybody wants to get the vote in, if you're voting for George Williams, it's a wasted vote. He's got no chance of winning. I'll just tell you that. And Sam Tompkins the same. Liam Marshall's not too far away from those two, but it does look like it's between Tom Davis and Tony Clubb at this moment in time. I'm going to take us off on a tangent a little bit here, if you don't mind, Matt, because one thing that I did this week, and I haven't told you that I'm going to do this, and I want to get your reactions on this, because you might have seen it. I did an article last year about Shaun Wane, looked at some stats, about his how many youngsters he's brought through to the first team, his win ratio, about his signings, because I do think he gets criticised. Sometimes justly, last year perhaps he got criticised at times when it was right that he was criticised. But I'm going to pop this on the screen. Hopefully you'll be able to see it. It's a bit small. Try and zoom in. But what it is, just try and zoom in on that. I don't know if that makes it any bigger. Okay, so that is a win ratio. You might not be able to see it, but basically what I've looked at is managers that have managed over 200 games in rugby league, whether that be in the NRL, Super League, International Rugby, across the three. I haven't picked... There's lots of managers, obviously, on there that aren't on there, that have managed over 200 games. But I've picked Darryl Powell, Brian McDermott, Wayne Bennett, Craig Bellamy, Daniel Anderson, the usual suspects, I think. I don't think I've missed anybody too obvious off that list. Now, Shaun Wane has managed, according to the stats, and again, I might be a couple of games off with the statistics that I got, but Shaun Wane, 209 games in charge of Wigan and a win percentage of 66%. Out of all the managers that I found, there's only Craig Bellamy, who's managed Melbourne Storm and whoever else he's managed for 434 games and has a ridiculous record of 67%. Shaun Wane has a better win ratio than Daniel Anderson, Trent Robinson, Brian McDermott, Darryl Powell. I don't know if you've seen that before tonight, but how do you feel by looking at that? Are you surprised? Does he deserve more credit than he gets from us as Wigan fans, do you think?
I think statistics like this tell us one thing, and that is Wigan fans are bloody hard to please.
I agree, and I don't. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion, as I am, and that article, I guess, is my opinion on Shaun Wane. I think he gets a lot of stick when he doesn't deserve it. Sometimes he does deserve it, and I think Shaun Wane's probably an honest enough bloke to put his hand up when he does deserve that stick. But it's an article that I did last year, and I revisited it. I thought I'd update some of the statistics, and one of the statistics, I just couldn't believe that win ratio. So the reason why I wanted to do that was to do exactly what you're saying, is to show that sometimes us as Wigan fans can be very fickle, and I've said that many times on here, and I need to be careful saying it because the prime audience of this show is Wigan fans, and I don't mean to upset anybody by saying that, but I think sometimes we have to realise that there's lots of calls last year in 2016 before we won the Wane out. We've seen that on Twitter and everything like that. Wane out, who'd you get in? Who's got a better win ratio than Shaun Wane that's available? And the answer is nobody. Craig Bellamy is not going to come to Wigan. No disrespect to us as a club, but Craig Bellamy is not going to come to Wigan when he's the World Club champion at Melbourne and the NRL winning. But I just thought I'd throw that out there and just are you like me? Are you sort of a Shaun Wane fan and understand that? I guess like everyone with human beings, he gets things wrong. But obviously you're saying your initial reaction to that. I just want to sort of pick your brains on that, because I did it yesterday and I'm still trying to digest what that actually sort of says, which I think is incredible.
I'm with you. I've always been a big fan of Shaun Wane. I was, to be honest, when I first heard about him being appointed, I was a little bit reticent. And I do think he seems to have an image problem with other fans of other clubs in particular. They seem to think he's completely useless and he's all bluster and there's no substance there. I think he's proved time and time again that there is a lot more to him than that. And on top of that, did you see his comments about Dan Sargentson?
I've just read them. I think they're on the Wigan Today website. I think it's maybe something that Phil Wilkinson did about how he's going to stand by him. Is that what you mean? Yeah.
Now, if I was Dan Sargentson, who's not had a great start to the season, that is brilliant man management, isn't it? Because that's really picked that guy up, I imagine, and saying, look, we're standing by you. We think a lot of you. And it may seem quite an obvious thing, but it's actually, I think that's quite subtle. That is good man management. And I think our players at Wigan genuinely want to play for Shaun Wane. And there's the other thing. If we got rid of Shaun Wane, who comes in? Who replaces him?
Yeah.
Dennis Betts, I like. He's got the voice of a man who's made the wrong underwear choices for several years. But, he's somebody who, okay, he had his shot before, but he strikes me as being a good coach. But even then, I think Shaun Wane is the man for Wigan for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, I
Until
agree.
Shaun Edwards makes his mind up.
Yeah, and Shaun Edwards' shirt is behind me, actually. That's very, very nice segue there. I'll sort of end that discussion, I guess, on Shaun Wane. I don't want it to be seen as the Shaun Wane fan club, and we're trying to sort of, throw some Shaun Wane propaganda. But I just thought it was a piece that I did that I'm proud of. I know that Shaun Wane himself has read it. He got in touch with me this morning because he was quite surprised at the statistics as well, which made me double check everything. And I think sometimes we've got to be careful what we wish for as Wigan fans, and I think we need to appreciate what we've got going. We haven't won perhaps as many trophies as we all would have liked to over the past couple of years, but it could be a lot worse. Exactly.
Name me one supporter of any club who have won as many trophies as they'd like to win.
Yeah, name one fan of a club that's completely 100% satisfied as well. That's the nature of sport. Martin's just put on here. Sorry, I've just checked. Gil Dudson's still a Widnes player. I thought I'd read it somewhere. No problem, Martin. Yeah, poor Gil.
Apologies to Willie Isa and Gil Dudson.
Yeah, I think at least I think we're probably in Shaun Wane's good books at least. So he is the manager, so we should be all right with that. Let's get back on. This is a strange show, Matt, and I think every time I'm with you, things just go off on a tangent, and I don't know. I'm blaming you. We haven't. I was testing it tonight. I thought, Mark's doing really well with Super League Pods, which is available to download his new episode. Just a little plug for Mark, and I'll be able to see if he actually watches this because he'll thank me for the plug. And this is 25 minutes in, so we'll see whether he actually does watch when he's not on. But yeah, every time it's just you and me, Matt, things go off on a tangent. So what should we talk about? We've gone through the Widnes side, we've gone through the Wigan side. Let's talk about the game, I guess. Snow is probably going to be a bit of an issue, depending on, I live up in the northeast and it's horrendous up here. Hopefully the northwest isn't as bad as perhaps what it is up here at this moment in time. The DW's got under soil heating, so it shouldn't be an actual problem, I guess, on the surface. Do you think that'll be a factor, though? Maybe a heavier pitch? Do you think that'll take away maybe from Wigan's style of trying to play on Friday night?
We could see a more conservative game, couldn't we?
Yeah.
Heavy pitch, cold hands. That could maybe reel things in a little bit, but there again, I think Wigan will want to really lay down a marker in this game. Yeah. So I imagine, hopefully, what I'm hoping to see is some really kind of fast, clinical passing skills from Wigan. Not wild stuff, not throwing the ball about just for the sake of it, but really clinical, surgical stuff.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think take the conditions and everything about this week out of it, and if this is a game where it's a fair track and there's no sort of potential leveller, which I think the pitch didn't look great in the Wigan Man City game, and a bit of snow on that I think it's potentially going to be a heavy pitch. Take all of that out of the equation. I think this was the game for Wigan to get a good result, and a good result, winning by 20 points plus, I would say, at the very least. But getting back to that attacking player that we saw in the first two games, it wasn't 100% there, but we saw signs of it against Salford. We saw a lot of signs of it, perhaps lacking the execution against Hull in Wollongong. But that, for me, is how important this game is. It's our first game since the atrocious display against Castleford at home last year. It's our first home game since then. I just think that the weather conditions might make it more of a forward battle. That being said, if it is a heavy pitch, and we're going back to the teams here, but do you keep the options of Escaré from the bench for this game, or would you maybe put an extra forward on the bench if it is such a heavy pitch? Or does Escaré, does that system still need much more time, do you think, to bed in?
I think it needs time, doesn't it? I think we can't give up on that yet. Not that you're suggesting giving up on it, but do we use the conditions as an excuse to back away from that? I think this isn't the time. I think it still needs a few more games to kind of really let that gel before we kind of take a step back.
You can imagine the criticism as well if Shaun Wane, and we were talking about the amount of criticism that he does get, if he does make that change and then it doesn't pay off and he's gone, why have you dropped Escarel, whoever it might be, to go for an extra forward? So, I think you're absolutely right. It needs more time and it's worked well. We've got one defeat against Warrington and we're putting that down to the dreaded term jet lag. Martin Joel says, Martin, thanks for your contribution tonight, by the way. 32 points to 10 to Wigan. Davis to get a hat-trick. That's not sitting on the fence with Davis getting a hat-trick. Make sure you put 50p on that, Martin, because if that comes in, you'll definitely get £1 or something back from that. Predictions, Matt, before we go to the what has now become either the poet or the poem or the puppet. I was expecting a Viking hat, and I sort of tried to get one myself this week. But let's go for you. How do you see the game going? And your score prediction?
I think Wigan will run away with it in the second half, and I think Wigan will win by about 18 points.
Perfect. First try scorer?
Navarette. Or Willie.
I'm laughing. I don't know why I'm laughing, because he's got he's in the 19-man squad. He's got a 1 in 19 chance potentially of scoring if you sort of look at it in very simple maths and don't look at actual odds of who scores tries, particularly if he's probably on the bench. But yeah, Willie Icer, you say Willie Icer hat trick or something, trying to sort of sweeten Willie Icer up.
That would be great.
I'm going to go for 24-6 to Wigan, I think, but a sort of a much clearer and a better performance than perhaps that scoreline suggests. It doesn't really make sense, but that's what I'm going for. A good, efficient performance from Wigan, and we move on to another home game against Wakefield the following week. And I'm going to go for Oliver Gildart, first try scorer, simply because I did an interview with Martin Fire, and we didn't have him on Wigan TV earlier in the week, but he kindly put some questions, some answers that fans asked of him, and he had some very interesting advice for Oliver Gildart, which was a pure winger's advice, which was basically pass the ball to Marshall. You'd much rather let Liam Marshall score 40 tries and you score 10 than you both score 20, which I thought was the most wingers advice you could possibly expect from the wingers union, which when I was sort of typing it up when he sent the answer through made me laugh. But Matt, once again, before we come to the poem, for anybody that's going to the game, I will be at the game, weather dependent, shouldn't be a problem. The Wigan Club have given us permission to film, so thank you to Tim Fisher at the club. We can film outside the stadium before and after the game, and we'll certainly be doing it after the game. We'll probably be in the southeast corner as you go over the bridge. You'll probably see me in probably an oddball's red and white hat and a parka, and somebody holding a selfie stick and a phone. So come over, say hello. Let's try and make this community of Wigan Fan TV sort of take off a little bit now with the sort of videos after a game, and hopefully they win, because I can't be facing a meltdown on like the first an Arsenal Fan TV style meltdown on the first one. I just really, we don't want to go viral for the wrong reasons just yet. So Matt, it leaves me to say once again, thank you so much for taking the time out of your evening, and let's hear the poem.
It was a pleasure. Okay, the poem. The Widnes prediction poem is as follows. Widnes' start has been very strong, and the pundits are worried that they got it wrong. But I'm taking bets that their fortune won't stretch quite as far as Dennis's thong.
Again, brilliant. I mean,
Dennis Betts wears a thong.
I mean, the speculation on this show is wow.
It's a lovely image to finish on, isn't it?
It is, yeah. I mean, we've had Dennis Betts between your legs, and now we've got Dennis Betts' thong on our minds. So yeah, I'm glad I said thank you before you said that poem, Matt. But hopefully I'll see you on Friday, Matt. And like I say, let's hope for a Wigan win. And anybody that watches this, come and say hello on Friday night, and let's have a chat about all things Wigan. So have a good rest of the week, Matt, and hopefully see you on Friday.
And you. Cheers.
See you later. Bye.